Hello, my name is Robert Rodriguez, and today we'll be presenting on our work with Kids First Chicago. To provide context, I want to share a powerful quote from Daniel Anello, CEO of Kids First. He highlights that the education system doesn't just have an achievement gap, it has a discrimination gap. In Chicago, systemic inequities in education disproportionately affect students from marginalized communities, and addressing this gap requires data driven solutions. This is where our project comes in. We hope to help bridge this gap by making Chicago public school data more transparent, standardized, and actionable. So, what's the problem with Chicago Public School or CPS data? The CPS data landscape has long been fragmented and inaccessible. Since the 1990s, CPS data collection has been scattered across multiple agencies, stored in various formats, and inconsistently recorded over time, leading to discrepancies in reporting and accessibility. This is why we are partnering with Kids for Chicago, an education nonprofit, to deliver clean, standardized data that empowers them to drive meaningful action and advocacy in public education. Now that we've outlined the problem, let's talk about how we're solving it. Our goal was to build a CPS data hub and a public facing website to make school data more transparent, accessible, and most importantly, actionable. This involves two key components. One, a scalable modular data pipeline that ensures the data is cleaned, standardized, and efficiently processed. And two, a user friendly platform so that policymakers, educators, and families can easily explore and utilize CPS data for decision making. So, why is improving data accessibility important? Because data drives action. When parents have access to clear and reliable data, it can amplify their voices and allow them to advocate for better resources, policies, and support systems for their children. This in turn informs and motivates policymakers, allowing them to shape more effective policies based on real, accurate data. And when parents, policymakers, and Chicago locals work together with data backed insights, they can drive meaningful change that ensures all children in Chicago receive the support they need to succeed. By making CPS data more accessible, we are not just improving information availability, we are empowering Chicago to create real impact. Our data hub brings together two foundational sources: the Chicago Public Schools Demographic Report and the Illinois State Board of Education Report Card. Right now, these datasets exist separately on the CPS and ISBE websites. The CPS data spans from 2009 to 2025, available as annual CSVs, while the ISBE report card covers 2017 through 2024 in CSVs with earlier years stored in zip files. Accessing and analyzing them individually is time consuming and often inefficient. That's why one of our core goals is to streamline access, to create a unified view of school metrics that supports deeper insights and better decision making. To do that, we started by closely examining the structure of each dataset. Let's take a look at their key components.
First, regarding the Chicago Public Schools data, we tracked three primary statistics from 2009 through 2025. First, state English learners, which represents the number of students whose primary or first learned language is not English and receive additional instruction to reach English proficiency. Second, students with IEPs, which stands for Individualized Education Programs, and tracks the number of students who have been identified with a disability that affects their learning. Third, economically disadvantaged students, which represents students coming from low-income families who receive free or reduced lunch by the school. Secondly, regarding the Illinois State Board of Education data, for this data source, we focused on statewide metrics for the years 2017 through 2025. And from this data set, we investigated four-year high school graduation rate, high school dropout rates, SAT reading and math scores, summative designations, which represent overall performance ratings across assigned to schools in Illinois, and many more. Building on earlier work, we focused on our efforts towards three main deliverables. First, we built many Streamlit pages to provide interactive visualizations to users, including a data viewer, map, and other plots, which we will show during our demo of the website. Secondly, we built a Jekyll webpage to have a user-friendly experience for any visitors of the site. Thirdly, we set up an automatic data ingestion to update our site and data automatically for the years to come.
To make the automation of data ingestion possible, we use GitHub Actions. Our GitHub action is able to identify new data added to the ISBE and the CPS websites and can then activate the data pipeline we built last quarter when new data is identified. Once the pipeline cleans the data, a new data file is created in the format of DuckDB and is then uploaded to a remote storage space. This quarter, we incorporated a remote storage space as well as converted our CSV files to DuckDB in order to mitigate the storage limitations of GitHub. DuckDB reduces file size by storing our data column by column rather than row by row. So why is this important? This process is important because it allows for a public-facing website to stay up to date. This in turn allows parents and stakeholders to always have access to newest data and ultimately stay informed with the performance of Chicago Public Schools. So here is a quick demo of our website. What you're looking at right now is the landing page, which has a quick overview of what the website entails of. And then if you scroll to the top of the website, you can see that we have a navigation bar in which you can navigate to different tabs. The About page has a more in-depth overview of our website and has information on who worked on the project, our collaborators, and much more. Then the Methodology page explains our data sources and how we cleaned up the data to use for our website. It also contains in-depth description of our data so the users have a better understanding. Then the Data tab allows users to download catered data of their interest regarding a specific school. So you would click on a data source and then a specific school. Then you can filter out the years and the different columns. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can download your catered data in a CSV format. Then the Analysis tab has several articles within it explaining various trends across Chicago Public Schools. So if you click on an article, this is how it would look like. You can see that we have some visualizations as well as key trends under each of the visualizations. The School Report Card tab allows you to select the school and it shows the performance metrics of the school. So this would include graduation and dropout rates, principal turnover rates, summative designations, various demographic data, and other key indicators. Finally, the Schools Near You allows you to put in your address and look at schools near you. If you click on the eligibility box, the map will only show schools that are within your official attendance boundary. So here you can see that all the blue dots are the schools and the red dot is your address. If you click on a school, you can see some general information of the school, such as the website, as well as if you click on the link, it links to the school report card, which shows the same information as the examples shown previously.
So one big piece for us this quarter was analysis. Specifically, we looked at data from 2017 to 2024, and a few consistent patterns emerged in school rankings. In Illinois, schools receive an annual summative designation from the Illinois State Board of Education as part of their state-level report cards. These designations are based on school performance and help families and communities understand how well schools are serving all students. The 5 main designations here are as follows. Exemplary schools are schools that are performing at the top across the state. Commendable schools perform well, but they're not at the top. Targeted schools have one or more student groups that are underperforming. Comprehensive schools are among the lowest performing 5% statewide, and then intensive schools require extensive support to improve. In this visual, we see the 5-year graduation rate by summative designation, and this chart further breaks it down by gender. Across the board, you'll note that male students graduate at much lower rates than females. What's more striking here is that the gender gap widens as we move from exemplary to intensive schools. Now, we also tried mapping summative designations to school networks. School networks in the Chicago Public School in Chicago Public Schools are basically mapped around Chicago's different planning zones. In this slide, we're seeing the distribution of summative designations by each of these networks expressed as a percentage of schools within each of the network. Since the number of schools can vary widely by network, we expressed it as a percentage to help make a reasonable comparison. We have grouped the data into 2 categories: the 13 standard CPS regional networks that correspond to the planning zones, and then 5 non-traditional networks, which include charter schools, intensive support schools, contract schools, and AUSL schools, which are schools managed by the Academy for Urban School Leadership. If we look at this slide, networks 1 and 2 have the highest proportion of commendable schools. Network 1 covers Sauganosh, Reed, Dunning, and Albany Park, and Network 2, which includes Ravenswood. Both of these networks have the highest share of commendable schools. On the other extreme, Network 9 has the lowest proportion of commendable schools. This network covers Bronzeville, Hyde Park, and Woodlawn. Now, if you look at the non-traditional school networks, charter schools, intensive support, and contract schools have a substantial share of schools rated as commendable. The outlier here is options. In the options networks, these schools serve non-traditional or high-risk student populations, and very few of them have received commendable designations.
In summation, we were proud to help Kids for Chicago on this project, specifically in three main ways. First, we built a sustainable data pipeline that combines data from the two different sources and automatically ingests and updates data for both CPS and the Illinois State Board of Education. Secondly, we developed a public-facing website using Jekyll integrated with our Streamlit dashboards. This site acts as a central hub where parents, educators, and policymakers can interact with and explore Chicago Public Schools data. Third, by connecting the pipeline and website, we made it easier for the public to access key school performance metrics such as graduation rates, summative designations, and test scores without having to dig through fragmented data sets. Lastly, this project helped position Kids First Chicago for long-term data-driven advocacy. With clean, up-to-date, and accessible data, the organization can continue to inform policy, amplify parent voices, and push for more equitable outcomes across Chicago schools. Thank you.